Hi guys, welcome to Strolling Wise Minds. This is Kanishk, and today I have probably the most accomplished guest till now on my guest role. She's Miss Erica Hanson. She's a senior program manager at Google. She's a psychology graduate from Stanford, and she's been working with Google since the past 15 years. And it's a long journey. And since she has given us a very brief time slot, so we'll not be able to talk about a lot, but we'll pick up some tips and bits and nitty gritties. And we'll ask her about how to build an organization and what is that we can take into consideration while doing small, maybe building a startup, and whatever we're doing in life, just have a chat with her, and it might be an interesting conversation. Stick till the end, and yeah, let's start. So welcome, ma'am. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm good. So would you mind introducing yourself, and what do you do at Google, and what's the background? Could you just show us?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I'm based in New York, and I've been at Google. It'll be 15 years in a couple of weeks. I've bounced around from different countries and teams throughout my experience, which has been fun. So after I graduated from Stanford, where I studied psychology, I joined Google. I was doing sales, working with small to medium-sized businesses, and enjoyed that for about 4 years. Eventually moved to London, where I did sales strategy and operations. So basically managing projects, supporting tools that help the teams at Google. And I did that for 3 years. And then I moved to Singapore, where I was there for 4 years. I focused mostly on Indonesia and across Southeast Asia, focusing on developer communities. That's when I joined the developer relations team, which is the same team that I'm on now. And our goal is to help developers be more successful. If developers are building on Android or Google Cloud, or they're interested in machine learning, like TensorFlow, our team is there to support them. And we do that through training. So I did manage an Android training course with a partner. And I also worked on an accelerator program for startups in Indonesia, which I really enjoyed. And now I've been in New York for a few years. I'm leading the Google Developer Student Clubs program. It's a community program for university students who are interested in Google developer technology. We encourage students to build projects that solve local problems. This year, students focused on building projects that solve for the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals, like zero poverty and good health and well-being. And I'm also now leading a team that focuses on our Google developer communities, including GDG or Google Developer Groups, and also the program I'm currently working on for students. And that's pretty much the journey. It's been a lot of program management, a lot of moving, a lot of 20% projects to understand what teams do I like working with, what are the skills that I have that I can develop even further, and just understanding what I'm interested in. I've done a lot of projects along the way that helped guide me and help me figure out what I like doing.
Yeah, that's
the journey.
It's been a very long journey, and you're always learning. Like what I hear from you. So since you're leading the Google, generally we call it the GDSC in India, the Google Developer Student Club. It's probably in every college. It's in my college as well. So what is Google's motivation to pilot this whole program? Like Google basically is a organization. Like what Google started out as a search engine. It's a giant tech corporation right now. What is Google's motivation in general to pilot the GDSC club? Like what has been?
Yeah, so I'm part of developer relations, and so we are really focused on training and developer communities. What are ways that we can scalably support developers as they build sometimes their first projects? If they're interested in using Google developer technology or are already using it, we want to be there to support them. And so we do that through a number of programs. Our team does have videos and code labs, and there's source code to support developers. My specific team is, we're the ecosystem team, and we're there to support people through communities mostly. And we pick student leaders and leaders to run these communities, and we support them with the content and more. And so this was aligned with that. So basically I identified that, we should be doing more on my team specifically to support students. And I found out that my friend Deepak Sridhar, he already started this program, GDSC, in India.
Okay.
And I said, okay, let's bring this to Indonesia. I connect often with students, and I wanted to have a program specifically to focus on students to help them become more industry ready. They're learning theory at their university, which is very important, but I wanted them to have a community, a peer-to-peer learning environment where they could learn from friends and each other and put things into practice. They could build projects, and I wanted them to have stuff to put on their resume, to get jobs. And I had talked to a number of startups that were having a hard time hiring tech talent. And so they're also looking for people who had that real world experience and had built projects. So there was a good opportunity there. So I pitched to bring it to Indonesia. Eventually, we did pilot it there. I got approval because it was in line with my specific team's goals, helping developers be successful. And I was able to pitch to make it global. And eventually I moved to New York. And now it's, there's about 1,500 communities now around the world of leaders who set up these clubs. So it's really just identifying the opportunity, knowing that it's aligned with my team's vision and what work we do, and then piloting. See, do people even like this? Do people want this? Is this helpful? If it wasn't helpful for developers, then we should just stop the program. But we got positive feedback from students and student leaders, and so we went ahead and launched it.
Yeah, that's great. Like, it's helping me. Like, I'll tell you the ground zero report, because it's like an initiative in my college, and we have a whole club, and we generally promote students to start, building projects right from their freshman year, their sophomore, like not wait for the after college job training, and to get job ready like as soon as possible. So that's pretty much it. And so since you've been a part of a lot of programs, like you mentioned the Indonesia Women's Study Group program. So you might be aware about like organizational behavior in general, right? So like somebody is building a startup, or maybe you built a small division in a very giant tech corporation like Google. So what is the relevance of small steps? Like how should you start a very like a giant project? How do you start like a small project, like small milestones and baby steps? Like what is the relevance of them? How important are they? So that's pretty much the question.
Yeah, it is important to take small steps, and also it's okay to have a big vision and a big plan, but before you launch this huge thing, it's important to test it, or it's kind of like a minimum viable product or MVP. Like, what is the minimum? Like, what do people even want this? Do they need it? Why are we doing this? And make sure to ask all those questions and understand what you're working with before doing this huge thing. So for example, with this program, with Google Developer Student Clubs, if on day one I had said, right now, today, we want to launch 2,000 clubs, like now, and then we'd have to like hire people, teammates to help us launch it. We'd have to build the infrastructure. But then what if no one liked it, or it wasn't useful for students, like, because we care about the users. And then we'd have this huge thing that we did quickly, but it's better to put the time in, understand the goal, the vision, have the team, the right people in the right places to help build it. I don't think it would have worked. And so for us, it was baby steps. So it was, all right, first we're bringing this program to Indonesia, see how it goes, get feedback from students, and we have the people on the ground to help with this. And then it was from there, let's bring it to Sub-Saharan Africa. I had some teammates there that were ready to work on this. And so it was like by country, by region. And then from there, it was like, okay, let's try another region. Then we added a couple others, but it was slowly over 2 years, slowly adding another country, another region. And as we added, then we built the tools to support that, like the infrastructure, because it's like, okay, this is happening. So now we can build this tool for applications. Okay, now we can build this, this other piece of the project. So I think it's important not to dive totally in unless you know that like you're ready for it, you have the right vision, you have the right people want to do this, you have good feedback, then you can go big. But it's so important to take those steps and learn along the way, and iterate, make changes based on the feedback. Getting feedback throughout the entire process is very important, because you don't want to just do a big launch and then fail immediately. So it'll mitigate the failure if you test along the way.
The reason I asked this question in the first place was that there's a huge startup wave here in India. Might be aware of it. So generally, there's a culture like people get out of college, get into a job, like work for a couple of years, and then immediately start out a venture. So what they don't realize is they understand the technical aspect of it. What they don't realize is the organizational aspect, like how to hire people and how to manage the finances, and they end up failing. Great ideas end up not becoming a great product. So that is what goes wrong. That was the reason I asked you this question in the first place. How should you start out a venture? I guess. So definitely moving on towards the all the startup phase, like towards the job aspect. Like the GDSC is very focused on getting students job ready, or maybe getting a job and helping startups to hire quality tech talent. So lots of universities here in India focus religiously on the academic aspects of things. And a massive chunk of computer science graduates are not familiar with these application-based knowledge of how to build apps, and they might be aware about computer organization and architecture. They might be aware about the internal workings of the operating system. They might be very the academia might be very sound, but how to come up with a product and how to work as a team, that skills are kind of missing. So what students do here in India is they go under rigorous training programs after their graduation, and there are large MNCs. You might be aware of the names like TCS, Infosys. These companies train graduates for 6 months, 7 months from different technologies and assign them projects from the US. And this is how stuff works in India. So what can be a solution for this? How can GDSC is a very sound solution for it, but GDSC also has its constraints, right? So what can be an interim solution in the organizations to for students to take self initiatives and come up with these become more job ready themselves?
I do think there are opportunities, or they could create opportunities. So aside from, through Google Developer Student Clubs, they could do that by being a part of a team or taking on leadership or being an active team member and being proactive. It doesn't have to be through GDSC. It could also be through other tech clubs. It could be, someone could just proactively work on the project, anything. They could go to a local NGO or a local small business that doesn't have a website online, and they can say, hey, I'm trying to build skills. I want to, I've been learning this in school, how to build a website. I'd like to put this into practice. Can I help you with this? I can work on this for 3 months and then I'll pass it to you, but it's setting up the expectations properly. But that would help the student learn, and they'd be supporting a business. It's just all about being proactive. And I do think through communities, it's a great way. I think a way to be an active community member is you can offer to volunteer to help organize an event, volunteer to help find a speaker. You can just be active, ask questions and help out. Or you could, if you have an expertise, you could be a speaker on a panel or give a talk, become an expert in something and have a standard presentation that you can deliver at any time. Be really good at delivering a 20-minute talk on a topic you know a lot about, you've done a lot of research on, and you have an expertise in it. And then just start giving the same talk when you can, as long as it's useful and helpful for people. Relevant, exactly. And then building a project, being part of a project team, you learn a lot about teamwork and leadership, and everything I do at Google now is in project teams. I lead a team, I pull people in, I say, hey, we're gonna work on this project for the next 6 months. Who wants to help? We're gonna meet every 2 weeks. Here's our goal, let's make the goal together. What's our goal? And we all work on setting the goal together. And so that's all leadership, and students can do that by building a project. Okay, let's join this competition. Let's join this hackathon. And you don't need to get first place, but the process of building a project together, coming up with the goal and getting feedback from users and launching the project, or at least submitting it for a competition, those are all really good experiences and will help with some of those soft skills like leadership and teamwork, which are critical for the job force.
Definitely. So like that helps probably building our project, like having this algorithm knowledge and coming up with the most optimized solution is kind of okay. But I guess like creating projects gives you a knack of creativity as well, and you can move towards different aspects of the product. So moving on towards adaptability, like I saw your LinkedIn profile and you were you're a psychology graduate, like by education. And so you like worked in Google, and you told in one of your talks that you learned Android development, you earned a nano degree in it, like while you were in the Indonesia, like to support the study group itself. So, like, how important do you think adaptability is in the upcoming decade, like in the like till 2021, 2030, maybe after that? Like, why everyone should have at least a basic understanding of tech, like irrespective of their educational background, and why everything is moving, like we see like the SaaS and how every organization is essentially moving towards cloud, and how all this is working. The ecosystem is turning very tech friendly. So how important do you think adaptability and this tech knowledge is in the current scenario?
Yeah, I think adaptability are really important. I think no matter what job you're in, whether it's in tech or not in tech, I think improving soft skills are helpful for any industry you're in, like being a good leader, and that includes being a good listener, being able to listen and take feedback, being able to take on feedback and make changes, and being able to listen and ask questions. Those are all signs of leadership. That's all critically important, and being good at collaboration and teamwork, and that helps you be adaptable no matter what industry you're in. And within Google, I have a non-tech background, but I've been on teams that are in the business organization and now in the engineering organization. But what helped me was reflecting and understanding what are my strengths, what am I good at, what do I like doing, what am I not good at, but I can improve, or what am I not good at, and I'll just accept that and really double down on what I am good at.
Okay.
And so it's important for everybody to understand those things about themselves, and that you can take your skills, you have the confidence to take your skills across every type of team, which helps you be adaptable. And so I did struggle for a period of time as a program manager in the tech side of things, but eventually I started to just really focus on my skills and what I am good at, and just really double down on that, and was able to finally do well after I struggled for a period of time. I'm grateful that I've taken some coding classes. I did, Android for beginners. I started my nano degree. Unfortunately, I didn't finish, but I got through far enough to understand the basics, and I took a JavaScript class. So just learning how to code helped for my job, because, I'm definitely no expert, but at least I have that understanding of what are the different resources for developers, what is it like dealing with this new language and a different type of logic, and being able to just understand developers a bit better and their perspective. So it helped me in my job. I don't think it's required for everybody to take a coding class. I think it can be helpful, especially just understanding different technology, maybe not like coding, but just learning what else is out there. Yeah. What's new with machine learning? What is machine learning? And I think it's helpful. It doesn't apply to all industries, but I think it's good just to understand what's out there, because it's definitely, technology is improving and it's changing everything. It impacts our phones, our lives. Like, I think it's helpful to understand it, or else it's going to seem very confusing and it'll keep just progressing.
Yeah, until the reign of robots. So definitely. So like my learning from your whole anecdote was like not anecdote, but like your whole passage was nobody finishes a Android development course. This is universal. And the second thing is like however, like what's like, this is my personal question, like what has been your experience like applying all the psychology concepts you learned in all the complex and like kind of nerdy developer mindsets? Like, how was your experience with that? You've been from a psychology background, you're talking about like Marxism, socialism, and all the top-notch terminology. Then you come into algorithms, complexity, and how was it like? Like, how was the drastic change Like, what was the experience in Google when you like joined in?
Yeah, I think with psychology for me, it was interesting to learn the theory. I really just learned theory and different studies and different psychologists that were out there, different experiments and research. And for me, it was less about the exact experiments. It was more about just understanding people and how they work and human behavior and body language and what makes a great leader. What is the psychology behind that? And what makes strong teams. I was really interested in that. And there's been some research that I know at Google they've shared about what makes a good team, what makes a good leader. So I was personally interested in that side of it. And so then seeing the more technical side of things and developers, I think it's the psychology is just always there. I'm just in general, I guess I gravitate less towards like the studies and here's this person and here's what they did and here was the output. It's more of like just it helped me reflect. Yeah, it was more about the process and like, wow, I guess I've just become a bit more conscious, and so seeing the and the technology side and developer side, I guess for me, I'm more interested in like, okay, wow, understanding the users and why are people building it, and have they thought about the why? And if they're building a project, do they understand the users? Have they been getting feedback? What do people feel about it? How do people interact with it? Does the design make sense for the user? And so I guess that's more of the psychology side of just understanding how do humans interact with, whether it's a project or it's whatever someone produces or launches. Like, I guess I'm always still seeing the human side of it and trying to understand the why and the how. So yeah, I think that still travels across everything I do. It's just like a general interest. And you're on mute.
I'm very sorry. Yeah, so that's a great way to look at it. And so like I was very interested in this perspective. Like, some psychology background in managing techies, so it's like that was my personal interest. How was that happening? So definitely. So moving on to the next question is like I am very young, like I'm 20 years old and I'm into this comparative developers club. So the general perception of the outside world towards the developer community, or maybe the developer community itself, is that it's very competitive. Like people have lost like, okay, it's fine to be competitive and winning hackathons and it's all good, but people have lost the essence of collaboration. Like it's all my code, it's all my work. So how important how important is that for developers to be open to collaborations and for collective growth rather than learning in a silo, or probably not focusing on learning together? So like how important, or maybe how helpful is that in general?
Yeah, I think it is. I know competition is inevitable, but I do think collaboration is so important, and I think sharing and having things be open source and that aspect of collaboration and people helping each other, and it's great that people, with Stack Overflow and GitHub, people can share and learn from each other. That's why I love communities as well. People can share their expertise, they can mentor each other, they can join up on projects and build together. So I think there's a lot to be said and a lot of value in sharing and collaboration. I think it really helps for the workforce, at least in my experience. People who are collaborative and are like, hey, I built this, or I made this process, or I created this spreadsheet. Feel free, you're doing something similar. Let's say someone's organizing an event for developers, and so it's ideal if they can share it with someone else who's also going to be running an event for developers in a different country. And it's like, why not just share that framework and the agenda and maybe even some of the speakers, because so people aren't reinventing the wheel. And so I think that's great because it helps other people. And then that person who was helped it's a ripple effect, will then hopefully share that process, best practice with other people. Because I think if people work too much in like their own lane and just kind of are focused on, I want to succeed and I want to be the best, and they're not trying to support and help other people, then I don't think that's great long term. And I think people like to work with more collaborative people who aren't just in it for themselves. They want everyone to succeed and they can work on a shared plan and vision together. I just think those people are more fun to work with. They tend to be a bit more creative and friendly and happier to support each other. And I just think that makes for a better team environment because everyone's in it to support each other. And it's like, it doesn't need to be that competitive. I think that helps have that collaboration.
But it most certainly is very competitive. So yeah, definitely that's like the end of my streak of questions. So like, what do you like? I want you like okay, fine. My general audience is like second year, third year, like sophomores, or students in their pre-final years and preparing for jobs. So what is your like being a program manager, being in the industry for like over 15 years? So what is your general message to them? Like, what should they do and focus on more right now, rather than their regular theory classes or maybe building projects? What is it that they should focus on as a whole, and to be a better developer or to be a better product in the corporate industry itself? Not particularly with Google, maybe any other company as well.
Yeah, with any company. I think, I know we've talked about this, but I do think, having that experience of building projects and thinking about developing problem solving is helpful, and that critical thinking. And I do think, thinking about things that can be solved. Is there someone you can help? Is there like an NGO nearby or a local business that you can support and build something for them? It helps you, it helps them. The thinking about the broader community. And I think that is helpful. I think building leadership skills, like being a project leader for a project, or whatever leadership, starting something from scratch, leading an event. I think leadership is something that's really useful to develop. I do think the theory is important, but you can add more to it. Also, certifications can be important depending on what field you want to get into. There are program manager certifications out there. I know that Google has some newer ones out now, but there's other companies too. And I'd say like self-learning is helpful. Just like taking some courses online. Like I took a course, I know I didn't finish it, but I do recommend finishing when you can. But for me, I learned what I needed to learn by what I did. I didn't need to build something. I just wanted to understand the process. Certifications, reading books as well. I like physical books, but like buying books that help you, understand things like the why. I liked, when I was working with startups, I did like the book, oh my goodness. Oh, all of a sudden I'm forgetting the name, but it's the process of working on creating a startup, but the process that you have to go through.
The lean startup.
Lean startup. Yeah. Exactly.
Yes.
That's my thank you. Book. I haven't read that in so long. But that's a good one. That helps. It doesn't even need to be a startup. That helped me with my job. Think about like, the process of starting small, taking baby steps, testing before you launch a huge thing. And if no one wants it, starting with Why, Simon Sinek is a book that I haven't finished reading that, but there's some really good tidbits in there. I think learning, reading, asking questions, being a part of tech communities, because you can learn from each other. At a community event, at a startup event in Singapore, I met someone else who wanted to start a community for women in tech. We met at a startup event, and then we started a community for women after that. So you might meet people that you can start something with, start a community with, a project with. So I think being an active member of a community is also good.
Helpful, yeah. So that's pretty much it, and that brings us to the end of the podcast. So what has your experience been like? I was least expecting you to reply to my LinkedIn message in the first place. I just sent it like at 2 a.m. at night. I don't know what I was thinking. I just texted you. She might reply. So and what has your experience been in the podcast since that day? Like, it has been great for me. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks for asking me. I try to be active on LinkedIn. I do get a lot of messages, and unfortunately I don't reply to all of them, but I try to be active. I try to support people when I can. I like to see what people are up to. And so anyone listening here feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I do accept everyone. I like to be connected with new people who are interested in technology or really anything, who are just want to connect with other people in the professional world. So always happy to connect, and happy to join podcasts and events just to share things that I've learned. It's my perspective, and I learn a lot from other people as well. And so yeah, I was happy to share and also meet you and learn more about your own community. And yeah, so thank you for asking me.
Definitely. So I'll drop your LinkedIn link in the description.
Yeah.
And anyone, please look at the description and you can connect with Erica. So that's pretty much it. Thank you for lending me your time. And so yeah, thank you.
Thank you.